Thanks for tuning in for this Push Picking Up Steam at Home challenge. So I want to talk to you a little bit about launching things. I saw this cool picture of a ping pong ball launcher on the internet. Now, this was made simply using some string, 2 rubber bands, a recycled Gatorade bottle, and a bead, and then of course the ping pong ball. And I thought this looked like a lot of fun. But I don't have ping pong balls here at my house. I'm struggling to find any rubber bands that haven't been in a drawer for years and immediately break. I do have string and yarn here at my house. I don't have any beads, and we don't drink Gatorade. So I started thinking about how I could change that design to make my own little launcher. Now, this is what I came up with, and I'm still tweaking with the design, and I'm hoping that maybe you'll be inspired to build your own launcher and tell me how it works, because I think some of my problem might be the materials I'm using. So instead of a ping pong ball, I have wadded up 2/3 of a piece of paper, and maybe this is too heavy. Maybe a ping pong ball would work better. I don't have any Gatorade bottles, so instead I took a plastic cup, and I did basically what the Gatorade bottle did. In the instructions, they cut off the bottom of the Gatorade bottle so there was an open end, like the open end of my cup, and they cut 4 slits around the circle of the Gatorade bottle, and I did that with mine. Now, they unscrewed the cap of the Gatorade bottle and poked a hole in the cap so the string could go through. Instead, I poked a hole in the bottom of my clear cup. Now, I do have to say, this poking hole, whether it's in the bottom of a cap or a plastic cup, this might require some adult supervision. I did not use scissors to poke my hole. Instead, I really would have liked a nice thumbtack, to kind of something nice and sharp but not super violent, something that I could control but wasn't going to cut my fingers on. I used a really big safety pin to get the first hole in the bottom of my cup, and then I used that safety pin to poke like 2 or 3 really close together. Then I used a pencil and I poked it through those 2 or 3 holes, and I used the pencil, I kind of spun it back and forth, kind of like you see on TV shows when they're starting a fire. I spun it back and forth to get my hole large enough so that I could put my yarn through the hole. Now, I don't have any good rubber bands, but instead I have hair ties, and these are hair ties that aren't strong enough to hold up my ponytails, but I've had them, it's like I don't throw them out, so they're in the drawer in the bathroom. So I used my 2 hair rubber bands, and I put them in here so that they form an X. So I have 1 rubber band going across, and then the other half is going around the outside, and then I put the other rubber bands going in a 90-degree angle perpendicular to 90 to the first rubber band, and then that part going around to the outside, so you can see the rubber bands on the outside maybe. Then I pulled my yarn through and tied my yarn to my 2 rubber bands in there. And then I attached something to the ends. Now, this seems to be a pretty important part. I originally tried this just with my yarn, and I was finding that when I was releasing, it was like the yarn was still grabbing my fingers, so it seems to work better to have something. I think this is why there was the bead in the instructions that I saw on the internet. I didn't have a bead, so instead I had a broken clothespin that I just have attached my yarn to. Now, these launchers work like this. If you put your ping pong ball, if you have one, you lucky dogs, or a wadded up piece of paper. And just like our catapults, we're going to use some tension energy and some potential energy, where I'm going to put some tension on my rubber bands by pulling with my yarn, and then and that is building up the potential energy, and then when I release, it launches my wad of paper. Now, I'm still tweaking with it. I think maybe if I use some of my thicker hair bands that I have that are a little bit springier, maybe those will do a better job. Maybe if I actually had a bead and not a broken clothespin. I'm trying different things, and I'm also thinking maybe I can use a jar or something. That might be, because maybe my plastic cup is too flimsy. I don't know. So I invite you to make your own launcher. You do the instructions, do the materials like the picture I saw on the internet, try modified things like I did. I want to know what you discover. If you have any good ideas for how I can make my launcher a little bit stronger, a little bit more impressive than just going 4 feet, I'd love to hear. Thanks for coming by for this P.U.S.H. Picking Up Steam at Home Launch Challenge. Don't forget, I want to know what you create and what you discover. Feel free to tweet at me or certainly email me. I'd love to see any videos or pictures of your launchers. All right, thanks for tuning in. Can't wait to see what you create.